She had 3 seconds to make a choice that would change her life forever. 3 seconds before the pack elder grabbed her wrist and sealed the claiming bond. 3 seconds before she became property instead of a person. 3 seconds to do something, anything, to escape a fate worse than death. So Alice did the only thing she could think of. She fainted. Right there in the middle of the claiming ceremony, with 200 wolves watching, she let her knees buckle and her vision blur and her body go limp. And she fell. But not onto the cold stone floor like she'd planned. No, she fell into arms that shouldn't have been there. Arms that caught her with impossible speed, impossibly strong, impossibly warm. A stranger's arms. A stranger whose scent hit her like lightning. Pine and midnight and something ancient that made her wolf whimper with recognition. Here's what Alice didn't know as she pretended to be unconscious. The man holding her? The one whose heartbeat she could feel thundering against her cheek, whose grip was somehow both gentle and possessive. He wasn't just any stranger. He was Zane Blackthorn, the Alpha King, the most powerful wolf in 5 territories. And he'd been searching for her for months. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back 6 hours. Back to the moment Alice woke up knowing today was either the day she escaped her nightmare or the day she became trapped in it forever. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button for Cindy's Wolfheart stories right now, because what happens next is going to have you on the edge of your seat. This story has betrayal, forbidden attraction, ancient prophecies, and a girl who's willing to risk everything, including her heart, to stay free. Drop a comment if you're already feeling the tension, because trust me, we're just getting started. Now, let's go back to this morning. To the moment Alice Winters realized that sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves. The mirror doesn't lie, but Alice wishes it would. She stares at her reflection in the cracked glass, taking in the hollow eyes, the 2 sharp cheekbones, the bruises on her collarbone that she'll have to cover with makeup before the ceremony. 22 years old, and she looks haunted. Hunted. Like prey that's been running so long she's forgotten what it feels like to be anything else. Outside her tiny room in the pack house, she can hear them preparing. Chairs being arranged in the courtyard. The ceremonial altar being blessed with sage and moonwater. Wolves laughing and talking like this is a celebration instead of a sentencing. Like they're not about to watch Alice be claimed by Marcus Steele, the pack's head enforcer. A male 3 times her age with a taste for control and a reputation for breaking the spirits of any female unfortunate enough to catch his attention. The claiming ceremony is supposed to be sacred. A bond between equals, blessed by the moon goddess, built on mutual respect and desire. But that's not what happens in the Frost Ridge pack. Not for wolves like Alice, who were born with too much power and not enough protection. Here, claiming ceremonies are transactions. Political moves. Ways for powerful males to acquire assets. And Alice? She's been an asset since the day she turned 18 and her gift manifested. The ability to heal with a touch, to draw pain from wounded wolves and take it into herself. The pack alpha called it a blessing. The pack healer called it valuable. Marcus called it his. He's been circling her for 4 years, making his intentions clear, staking his claim in every way except the official one. Blocking other males from approaching her. Volunteering to be her training partner so he could put his hands on her in ways that made her skin crawl. Telling the pack alpha that he'd be honored to claim such a gifted female, to keep her power within pack control, to ensure she never thought about leaving. And today, the alpha agreed. Today, in front of witnesses and under the blessing of the full moon, Marcus will place his mark on Alice's throat and bind her to him for life. Today, her choice gets taken away completely. Unless she does something about it. Alice's fingers tremble as she applies makeup, covering the bruises, making herself look presentable for her own destruction. Her wolf is pacing inside her mind, agitated and desperate, pushing against her control. They need to run. Need to fight. Need to do anything except stand docile while a male they despise claims ownership of their body and soul. But running isn't an option. The Frost Ridge territory is surrounded by hostile packs on 3 sides and unclaimed wilderness on the 4th. Alice has no allies, no resources, no training in survival beyond pack borders. She'd be dead or captured within days. Fighting isn't an option either. Marcus is a trained warrior, enhanced by years of combat and pack battles. Alice is a healer, taught to soothe and mend, never to harm. She wouldn't last 30 seconds against him in physical combat. Which leaves deception. Delay. The slim hope that if she can just postpone the ceremony, just buy herself a little more time, maybe she can find a way out that doesn't end with her death or enslavement. That's when the idea hits her. Risky. Desperate. Probably stupid. But it's all she has. She'll faint. Pretend to be too ill to complete the ceremony. Force them to postpone, to call a healer, to give her at least a few more hours of freedom while they figure out what's wrong. It's not much of a plan. But it's better than nothing. A knock at her door makes her jump. Her heart races, her wolf snarls, and for a moment she considers locking herself in, barricading the door, making them drag her to the ceremony by force. Then a female voice calls through the wood. Soft. Familiar. Alice? It's Maya. Can I come in? Alice opens the door to find her only friend in the pack standing there with worried eyes and a dress draped over her arms. Maya is older, unmated by choice, one of the few wolves who treats Alice like a person instead of an asset. She slips into the room and closes the door behind her, her expression grim. You don't have to do this, Maya whispers. There are other options. Other packs. I could help you. And get yourself exiled or worse for helping me escape? Alice cuts her off. No, I won't let you risk that. Then let me help you survive it. Maya holds up the dress. White, traditional, beautiful in a way that makes Alice want to tear it to shreds. The ceremony is in 2 hours. But listen to me, Alice. Marcus isn't the male he pretends to be. I've heard things. Rumors about his previous mates, about how they died. Alice finishes flatly. I know. Both of them. One in a training accident. One from injuries sustained during a pack battle. Very convenient accidents. Maya's face pales. If you know that, why are you even considering going through with this? Because what choice do I have? The words come out sharper than Alice intends, edged with desperation she can't quite hide. The Alpha has given his blessing. Marcus has made his claim. If I refuse, I'll be declared rogue and hunted down. At least this way, I'm still alive. Alive isn't the same as living, Maya says softly. Alice takes the dress, feeling the weight of it in her hands, feeling the weight of everything it represents. I know, but sometimes survival is all we get. Maya leaves her to dress, promising to be there during the ceremony, a friendly face in the crowd. Alice pulls on the white dress and stares at herself in the mirror again. She looks like a bride. She feels like a sacrifice. The walk to the courtyard takes forever and no time at all. Wolves line the path, watching her pass, their expressions ranging from pity to satisfaction to hunger. The unmated males look at her like something they've lost. The mated females look relieved it's not them. The pack elders look pleased that everything is proceeding according to plan. And Marcus. He stands at the altar, dressed in formal leathers, his face arranged in what he probably thinks is a tender expression, but reads as possessive triumph. He's a handsome male, objectively. Strong jaw, broad shoulders, the kind of presence that commands attention. But his eyes are cold. Dead. The eyes of a predator who's finally cornered his prey. Alice's feet keep moving even though everything in her is screaming to run. One step. Another. The distance between her and the altar shrinking with each heartbeat. The pack alpha begins speaking, his voice carrying through the courtyard, reciting the traditional words about bonds and blessings and the sacred duty of wolves to choose mates wisely. Alice barely hears him. Her focus is on Marcus's hand, extended toward her, waiting for her to take it and seal her fate. She's 3 steps away when she feels it. A presence. New. Powerful. Wrong. Her wolf perks up, suddenly alert in a way that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with recognition. Someone else is here. Someone who doesn't belong. Alice's eyes scan the crowd, searching for the source of the feeling. And then she sees him. Standing at the very back of the courtyard, partially hidden by shadow, a male she's never seen before. Tall. Dark-haired. with eyes that glow gold even in the afternoon light. He's watching her with an intensity that makes her breath catch, like he's looking through all her defenses and seeing straight to her soul. She's never seen him before in her life, and yet something about him feels familiar, ancient, important. Their eyes lock across the distance, and Alice feels something snap into place inside her chest. Something that shouldn't be possible. Something that makes her wolf surge forward with a desperate, hungry need that drowns out everything else. No, this can't be happening. Not now. Not here. The pack alpha is still talking. Marcus is still waiting, his expression starting to shift from patient to annoyed. And Alice is frozen, staring at a stranger whose scent she can somehow identify from 30 feet away. Pine and midnight and home. She tears her gaze away, forcing herself to focus. One step, then another. She reaches the altar. She extends her hand toward Marcus. His fingers close around her wrist, cold and possessive, and Alice feels bile rise in her throat. The pack elder steps forward, drawing a ceremonial blade. In a moment, he'll cut her palm and Marcus's palm, bind their hands together so their blood mingles, and speak the words that will forge an unbreakable claiming bond. In a moment, she'll belong to Marcus Steele for the rest of her life. Alice makes her choice. Her eyes roll back. Her knees buckle. She lets every muscle go loose, surrendering to gravity, putting on the performance of her life. But instead of hitting the ground, instead of giving the pack time to panic and call for healers, she falls into arms that shouldn't be there. The stranger. Somehow he crossed 30 feet in the space of a heartbeat. Somehow he's caught her before anyone else could move, and now he's holding her against his chest with a possessiveness that makes Marcus's claim look like child's play. Mine, the stranger growls, and his voice resonates with alpha command so powerful that every wolf in the courtyard drops their gaze in submission. This female is mine. Anyone who contests my claim can challenge me now. Alice, still feigning unconsciousness, feels her world tilt sideways. Because she knows that voice. Every wolf in 5 territories knows that voice. It belongs to Zane Blackthorn, the Alpha King, the most powerful wolf alive. The male who answers to no one and who could crush the Frost Ridge pack like insects if he chose to. And he just claimed her. Through her closed eyelids, Alice hears chaos erupt. Marcus shouting protests. The pack alpha stammering explanations. Wolves murmuring in shock and fear. And through it all, the Alpha King's arms around her, steady and strong, his heartbeat a drum against her ear. She should be terrified. She should be thrilled. She should be planning her next move. Instead, all Alice can think is, what have I just done? The Alpha King's scent is everywhere. Pine and midnight and something wilder, something that makes Alice's pretend unconsciousness feel increasingly inadequate. Her heart is racing too fast for someone truly fainted. Her breathing is too controlled. Any wolf paying attention would see through the deception in seconds. Zane Blackthorn is definitely paying attention. His arms tighten fractionally around her, and his voice, low, meant only for her, rumbles against her ear. Your pulse is elevated. Your breathing is shallow but rhythmic. And you flinched when Steele shouted. So either you're experiencing a very active coma, or you're conscious and choosing to maintain this charade. Which is it, little wolf? Alice's mind races. She could keep pretending. Hope he plays along. Or she could acknowledge the truth and face whatever consequences come from deceiving an Alpha King. His thumb strokes across her wrist, finding her racing pulse. I can wait. I have all day. But your pack is starting to discuss whether they should call for a healer or simply drop you in cold water to wake you up. Your choice which option you prefer. That decides it. Alice's eyes flutter open, and she finds herself staring directly into a face that should be illegal. Sharp features. Strong jaw. Eyes the color of liquid gold that seem to see everything she's trying to hide. Zane Blackthorn is beautiful in the way apex predators are beautiful, compelling, and terrifying in equal measure. I'm awake, she whispers, then remembers the entire pack is watching and immediately regrets speaking. One corner of Zane's mouth curves up. So I see. Are you injured? Do you need medical attention? Or were you attempting to delay a ceremony you clearly didn't want to participate in? The fact that he sussed out her plan in seconds should probably worry her more than it does. She's unstable, Marcus's voice cuts through, sharp with barely contained fury. Prone to fainting spells and emotional outbursts. Not fit for claiming by anyone, much less someone of your status, Alpha King. Zane doesn't even look at Marcus. His eyes stay locked on Alice's face, reading her like a book. Is that true? Are you unstable? Alice weighs her options. Agree with Marcus and maybe Zane will lose interest, release her, let the original ceremony proceed. Or tell the truth and risk whatever consequences come from being honest with the most powerful wolf in the territories. I'm perfectly stable, she says quietly. I just don't want to be claimed by a male I don't choose. So I faked fainting to buy time. The courtyard goes dead silent. Alice just admitted to deception during a sacred ceremony. That's grounds for punishment, possibly exile. But she's so tired of lying, so tired of making herself small and acceptable, that the truth spills out before she can stop it. Zane's eyes flash with something that might be approval. Clever. Desperate, but clever. He shifts his grip, adjusting her weight in his arms like she weighs nothing. Tell me, Alice Winters. If you could choose any mate, any bond, would you choose Marcus Steele? The use of her full name sends a chill down her spine. He knows who she is. Has known, probably since before he arrived. This wasn't coincidence. No, she answers honestly. I wouldn't choose him. I wouldn't choose any bond that's forced on me. Then it's fortunate I arrived when I did. Zane finally looks away from her, his gaze sweeping the assembled pack with casual dominance. I'm invoking right of prior claim. Alice Winters is under my protection as of this moment. Any wolf who attempts to claim, harm, or coerce her will answer to me personally. Is that understood? The pack alpha steps forward, his expression careful. Alpha King, with all respect, the right of. Prior claim requires established bond or intention. You've never met Alice before today. Haven't I? Zane's voice could cut glass. Perhaps you should ask your pack healer about the injured wolf she treated 6 months ago. The one who appeared at her door in the middle of the night, half dead from silver poisoning, begging for help. The one Alice saved even though she had no idea who he was. Alice's blood runs cold. She remembers that night. The male had been unconscious when she healed him, his face too damaged to identify, his scent masked by silver and blood. She'd spent hours drawing the poison from his system, nearly killing herself in the process. He disappeared before dawn, leaving only a note that said, "Dead acknowledged." That was you, she breathes. Zane's smile is sharp. That was me. Ambushed by rogues, left to die, saved by a healer who asked nothing in return. I've been tracking you ever since, Alice. Making sure you were safe, watching from a distance, waiting for the right moment to repay my debt. His expression darkens. Imagine my displeasure when I learned you were about to be claimed by a male known for his cruelty. So I came to collect what's mine. And you are mine, little wolf. You bought that right when you saved my life. The possessiveness in his voice should terrify her. Should make her balk. Instead, Alice feels her wolf stretch with satisfaction, preening under his attention. I didn't save you to create a debt, she protests. I saved you because it was the right thing to do. I know. Which is exactly why you're worth claiming. He looks back at the pack alpha, and his voice drops into alpha command. We're done here. Alice leaves with me. Now. Unless someone wants to challenge my claim. Marcus steps forward, his face twisted with rage. I challenge. She's mine. I've been courting her for 4 years. Courting? Alice can't help the bitter laugh that escapes. You call intimidation and control courting? I call it patience, Marcus snarls. Patience that's about to be rewarded. Alpha King or not, you can't just steal another male's intended. Zane carefully, deliberately, sets Alice on her feet and positions her behind him. The message is clear. She's under his protection, and anyone who wants to get to her has to go through him first. Let me be very clear, Zane says, his voice soft and deadly. Alice was never yours. Will never be yours. And if you press this challenge, I will break every bone in your body before I kill you. Is that the legacy you want? Died challenging the Alpha King over a female who despised him? Or would you prefer to walk away intact and find someone who actually wants your attention? Marcus's face cycles through emotions, rage, frustration, calculation. He's strong, but he's not stupid. Fighting the Alpha King is suicide. But backing down in front of the entire pack is humiliation. Alice watches him struggle with the choice, and part of her, the part that's been terrorized by him for 4 years, hopes he chooses to fight. Hopes Zane destroys him the way he's been slowly destroying her. Finally, Marcus lowers his gaze. I withdraw my challenge. But this isn't over, Alpha King. The Frost Ridge Pack has rules about claims and bonds. You can't just ignore. I'm not ignoring anything. I'm overriding it. Alpha King's prerogative. Zane turns back to Alice, his expression softening fractionally. Can you walk, or do you need me to carry you? Alice's pride says walk. Her shaking legs say otherwise. I can manage. Pride. Zane shakes his head. It's going to be the death of you. But he offers his arm, letting her use him for support as they move through the crowd of stunned wolves. Maya catches Alice's eye as they pass, her expression a mix of shock and relief. Alice tries to smile, to show she's okay, but honestly, she has no idea if she's okay. She just traded one claiming for another. Yes, Zane saved her from Marcus. But what does he want in return? What does your mine actually mean to an Alpha King? They reach the edge of the courtyard where a massive black vehicle waits, something expensive and powerful that matches its owner. Zane opens the door for her, and Alice hesitates. I don't have any belongings. My things are all in my room. Already handled. My people packed your essentials while the ceremony was proceeding. They're in the trunk. At her shocked look, he shrugs. I didn't come here unprepared, Alice. I knew you'd be leaving with me today. The only question was whether it would be by choice or by necessity. And which was it, she asks, sliding into the vehicle. Zane follows, settling beside her in the spacious back seat. Both. You chose to faint rather than complete a bond you didn't want. I chose to intervene rather than let you be claimed by someone unworthy. We both chose freedom over resignation. That's a start. The vehicle pulls away from the Frost Ridge pack house, and Alice watches through the rear window as her entire life, such as it was, disappears behind them. She should feel relieved, grateful, safe. Instead, she feels terrified. Because she's just exchanged one unknown future for another, and she has no idea what the Alpha King actually wants from her. As if reading her thoughts, Zane speaks, his voice low and careful. I can hear your heart racing. Smell your fear. You're wondering what I want from you, what claiming means to me, whether you've just traded one prison for another. Alice nods mutely. Here's the truth. He shifts to face her fully, his golden eyes serious. I owe you my life. That creates a bond, whether you intended it or not. But I'm not going to force you into anything you don't want. When I said you're mine, I meant you're under my protection. My responsibility. That doesn't mean ownership, Alice. It means I'll keep you safe while you figure out what you actually want for your future. Why? The question bursts out of her. Why go to all this trouble for someone you don't know? Because 6 months ago, a female I'd never met spent hours in agony, drawing silver poison from my body, nearly dying in the process. She didn't ask my name or rank. Didn't demand payment or favors. She just saved me. Because it was the right thing to do. His voice softens. That kind of selflessness is rare, Alice. And when I learned that same female was about to be claimed by Marcus Steele, a male with 2 dead mates and a reputation for cruelty, I couldn't stand by and let it happen. Not when I had the power to stop it. Alice processes this, trying to reconcile the ruthless Alpha King reputation with the male sitting beside her, speaking about honor and debts. What happens now? Now you come to my territory. The royal pack at the center of the 5 territories. You'll have your own quarters, your own space, complete autonomy. If you want to work as a healer, I'll set you up with our pack hospital. If you want to train for something else, I'll provide resources. And if, eventually, you decide you want to leave, to find your own path elsewhere, he pauses. We'll discuss it when the time comes. That sounds too good to be true, Alice says flatly. Zane's laugh is sharp and genuine. Probably because it is. I'm not a saint, Alice. I'm telling you the truth about what I'm offering, but I'm not telling you everything. There are things about my situation, about why I was in Frost Ridge territory 6 months ago, about what's happening in the Royal Pack. He stops himself. But those are conversations for later. After you've had time to recover from today. After you've had time to decide if you can trust me. Can I? Alice holds his gaze. Trust you. I don't know, he answers honestly. I've never been good at being trustworthy. I'm alpha. I'm king. I'm accustomed to getting what I want, when I want it, and destroying anything that stands in my way. But his expression shifts, something vulnerable flickering across his face. You saved my life when you had every reason not to. That means something to me. So I'm going to try. Try to be worthy of that gift. Try to give you the freedom and choice you've been denied. And if I fail, if I become another Marcus in different packaging, I give you permission to call me on it. Alice studies him, this powerful male who just upended her entire life, trying to decide if she believes him. The honest answer? She doesn't know. But she knows one thing for certain, whatever happens next, it won't be boring. Okay, she says finally. I'll come to your territory. I'll give this a chance. But Alpha King. Zane. Just Zane when it's the two of us. Zane. She tests the name. If you're lying to me, if this is some elaborate game, I will find a way to make you regret it. I'm not as helpless as I look. His smile is all teeth and approval. Good. I'd be disappointed if you were. He settles back in his seat, and Alice feels some of the tension drain from the vehicle. Now, it's a 6-hour drive to Royal Territory. You should rest. You used a lot of energy maintaining that fainting performance. Alice wants to argue that she's fine, but exhaustion is already pulling at her. The adrenaline from the ceremony is fading, leaving her drained and shaky. She leans against the window, intending to just close her eyes for a moment. She wakes to find her head pillowed on Zane's shoulder, his arm around her like it belongs there, the vehicle pulling through massive gates marked with the Royal Pack symbol. The Alpha King is staring out the window with an expression she can't read, but his grip on her tightens fractionally when he realizes she's awake. Welcome to your new home, he says quietly. Try not to run screaming in the first 24 hours. It would be bad for my reputation. Alice looks out at the sprawling estate, the massive pack house, the wolves gathered to witness their arrival, and thinks, what have I gotten myself into? The answer, she suspects, is going to be far more complicated than either of them anticipate. The quarters Zane assigns her are bigger than her entire childhood home. Alice stands in the center of a bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking gardens that stretch toward forests in the distance, and tries not to feel overwhelmed by the sheer space. There's a king-size bed with more pillows than any reasonable person needs. A bathroom with a tub large enough to swim in. A sitting area with plush furniture and a fireplace. And a closet already filled with clothes in her exact size. How did you? She turns to find Zane leaning against the doorframe, watching her reaction. I have a very efficient staff. Once I decided you were coming here, they had 48 hours to prepare. This is what they managed. He pushes off the frame, moving into the room with that liquid grace all alphas possess. If something's missing or wrong, tell Nora. She's my head of household. She'll fix it. Alice touches the soft fabric of a dress hanging in the closet, and memories slam into her unbidden. Her childhood home, small and cramped, where she shared a room with 2 siblings. The hand-me-down clothes that never quite fit. The constant worry about having enough food, enough firewood, enough of everything. Her parents were Omega wolves. Bottom of the pack hierarchy, given the worst jobs and least resources. They worked themselves to exhaustion trying to provide for 3 pups, and it still wasn't enough. Alice remembers being hungry, being cold, being told to be grateful for scraps while the Alpha family lived in luxury. Then her gift manifested. Healing touch, powerful enough to save lives. Suddenly, she wasn't a worthless Omega's daughter anymore. She was valuable, an asset. The pack invested in her training, gave her better quarters, ensured she had proper nutrition. Not because they cared about her, but because healers were rare and useful. That's when Marcus started paying attention. Started making comments about how much potential she had, how strong their offspring would be, how he could protect her from the harsh realities of pack life. She was 16. He was 38. And everyone acted like his interest was an honor instead of predatory obsession. Alice. Zane's voice pulls her back to the present. Where did you go just now? She realizes her hands are shaking, still clutching the dress. Nowhere. Just remembering. He moves closer, his presence somehow both overwhelming and comforting. Tell me about your gift. How did it manifest? The question surprises her. Most wolves ask how her power works, how they can use it, what limitations it has. Zane asks about manifestation, about origin, about her. Alice sinks onto the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. I was 14. My younger brother fell from a tree, broke his arm badly. Bone was showing through skin, blood everywhere. My mother was screaming for help, but the pack healer was away treating an alpha's injured hunting partner. So I just touched him. And I felt his pain become mine. Felt his bones knit together under my hands. When I pulled back, he was healed. And I was covered in his blood but without a mark on me. Your first healing, Zane observes. That must have been terrifying. It was transcendent, Alice corrects. For the first time in my life, I had power. Real power that couldn't be taken away or diminished. I could save people. Change outcomes. Make a difference. She laughs bitterly. I didn't understand yet that power just makes you a more valuable prisoner. Zane settles beside her on the bed, maintaining respectful distance, but close enough that she can feel his warmth. Tell me about Marcus. Not today's events before. How did he trap you? The question is so direct, so unflinching in its acknowledgement of what was happening, that Alice feels something crack inside her. He didn't trap me all at once. It was slow, methodical. He'd volunteer to partner with me during training, correct my form by putting his hands on me in ways that felt wrong but weren't technically inappropriate. He'd sit beside me during pack meals, monopolizing my time, making sure other males knew I was spoken for even though I'd never agreed to anything. She wraps her arms around herself, trying to contain the anger and shame warring in her chest. When I turned 18, he formally requested permission from the pack alpha to court me. The alpha agreed without asking what I wanted. Suddenly, I was Marcus's intended whether I consented or not. If I tried to spend time with other wolves, Marcus would appear. If males showed interest in me, they'd back off after Marcus had a private conversation with them. 2 wolves who didn't take the hint ended up severely injured during training accidents. And no one stopped him, Zane says, his voice flat with controlled fury. No one could. Marcus is the head enforcer, the alpha's right hand. Going against him meant going against pack authority. My parents tried to protest, but they're omegas. Their opinion doesn't matter. Maya tried to help me find ways out, but every option required resources or connections I didn't have. Alice's voice breaks. I spent 4 years as Marcus's intended, knowing the claiming ceremony was coming but powerless to stop it. Watching his previous mates die under suspicious circumstances and knowing I'd be next. Trying to find escape routes that didn't exist. Until today. Until today. Alice meets Zane's eyes and finds understanding there, not pity. When I saw you in the crowd, something in me recognized you. Not consciously, I had no idea you were the wolf I healed 6 months ago. But my instincts knew. And when Marcus touched me, when I knew I was seconds from being bound to him forever, I just gave up. Surrendered to the faint, to whatever happened next, because anything was better than completing that bond. Zane reaches out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and takes her hand. His touch is warm, careful, nothing like Marcus's possessive grabbing. Alice. Look at me. She does, and the intensity in his golden eyes steals her breath. You are not an asset. You are not property. You are not a prize to be claimed or a resource to be controlled. You are a wolf with extraordinary gifts who deserves the freedom to choose your own path. His thumb strokes across her knuckles. I know my claiming you today probably felt like trading one prison for another. But I meant what I said. You're under my protection, not my ownership. And if you want to leave, if you want to go somewhere far from Marcus and the Frost Ridge Pack and me, I'll provide the resources to make that possible. Why? Alice whispers. Why would you do that? Because 6 months ago, when I was dying from silver poisoning, you had the same choice. You could have let me die, taken whatever valuables I had, reported finding a dead wolf to collect a reward. Instead, you nearly killed yourself saving a stranger. That kind of selflessness deserves to be repaid with the same. With choice freely given, expecting nothing in return. Tears prick Alice's eyes. She's spent so long being treated as a possession that Zane's words feel almost painful in their sincerity. I don't know how to trust this. How to trust you? Then don't. Not yet. Zane releases her hand and stands, putting distance between them. Take time. Settle in. Figure out what you need. And when you're ready, we'll talk about what happens next. No pressure. No expectations. Just possibilities. He moves toward the door, and Alice feels sudden panic at the thought of being alone in this beautiful prison. Zane. Wait. He turns, eyebrows raised. The wolf you were 6 months ago. The one I healed. Why were you in Frost Ridge territory? Why were you alone and vulnerable enough for rogues to ambush you? Something dark crosses Zane's face. That's a long story. One I'll tell you eventually. But the short version? I was investigating rumors about a breeding ring. Wolves being forced to mate against their will, their offspring stolen and sold. The trail led to Frost Ridge territory, and I went in alone to confirm the rumors before bringing in my enforcers. That's when the rogues ambushed me. Turned out they were working for the breeding ring, trying to eliminate anyone getting too close to the truth. Alice's blood runs cold. A breeding ring. In Frost Ridge territory. Or near it. I never confirmed the exact location before the ambush. Zane's eyes narrow. Why? Do you know something? She thinks about the young females who've disappeared from the pack over the years. Officially declared rogues who chose to leave. Unofficially whispered about as cautionary tales, wolves who defied pack authority and faced consequences. She thinks about Marcus's insistence on claiming her, his focus on her healing abilities, and how valuable their offspring would be. I might, she says slowly. But I need to think. Remember. Connect pieces I didn't know were part of a puzzle. Zane nods, his expression grim. When you're ready to talk, find me. This isn't over, Alice. The breeding ring is still operating. And if Frost Ridge Pack is involved, if Marcus is involved, we need to stop it. He leaves, and Alice is finally alone with her thoughts and the weight of implications she's only beginning to understand. She saved the Alpha King's life. He interrupted her claiming ceremony. And now they're both tangled in something bigger and more dangerous than either of them planned. Her gift, she's learning, wasn't just about healing wounds. It was about connecting to something larger, something destiny-shaped. And the real question isn't whether she can trust Zane. It's whether she's brave enough to trust herself. 3 days pass in a strange limbo. Alice explores the Royal Pack territory, meets Nora and the household staff, visits the Pack hospital where healers treat her with respect instead of viewing her as competition. Zane keeps his distance, giving her space, but she feels his attention like a physical weight. Watching, waiting, assessing. On the 4th day, he knocks on her door at dawn. Get dressed, he says when she answers, still rumpled from sleep. I want to show you something. 20 minutes later, they're in his vehicle again, driving deeper into royal territory than Alice has ventured. The landscape shifts from cultivated gardens to wild forest, from pack lands to something older, more primal. She can feel power in the air here, ancient and patient. Where are we going? She asks. The Ancestors' Grove. It's sacred ground, protected by the oldest magic in the territories. Only members of the royal bloodline and their invited guests can enter. Zane navigates a narrow trail that barely deserves the name road. I think you need to see it. Why? He's quiet for a long moment. Because I've been having dreams. Since you healed me 6 months ago. Dreams of silver light and ancient voices and a female with healing hands standing at the center of everything. Dreams that feel less like imagination and more like memory. Alice's chest tightens. I've been having dreams too. Since I manifested my gift. Dreams where I'm standing in a grove of ancient trees, and voices are calling me daughter, calling me chosen, telling me I have a destiny beyond healing physical wounds. Zane's hands tighten on the steering wheel. That's what I was afraid of. They park at the trail's end and continue on foot. The forest here is different from any Alice has walked through. The trees are massive, old beyond counting, their bark carved with symbols that glow faintly in the pre-dawn light. The air tastes of magic and moonlight, even though the moon has long since set. And then they reach the grove. It's a circular clearing ringed by 7 ancient trees, their branches woven together overhead to form a living cathedral. In the center is a stone altar, its surface carved with more of those glowing symbols. And floating above the altar, suspended in defiance of all natural law, is a sphere of silver light. Alice stops breathing, because she knows this place, has seen it in her dreams 1,000 times, has felt the pull of that silver light calling to her across distance and time. "What is this?" she whispers. Zane moves to stand beside the altar, his expression reverent and wary. "This is the Moonwell. The place where the moon goddess first blessed our kind with the gift of transformation. Where the first alpha was chosen, where the first pack bonds were forged. It's been here for 5,000 years, and in all that time, the silver light has never responded to anyone." He looks at her, and there's something like fear in his golden eyes. "Until 3 days ago. Since you arrived on royal territory, the Moonwell has been growing brighter. Pulsing. The pack elders are convinced it's a sign." "A sign of what?" "That's what we're here to find out." He extends his hand toward her. "The legend says that when the chosen healer arrives, when the one prophesied to restore balance to the packs comes, the Moonwell will recognize her. Will show her truth. Will reveal destiny." His voice drops. "I need to know if that's you, Alice. Because if it is, everything changes. For both of us." Alice stares at his offered hand, then at the pulsing silver light, then back at the male who's turned her life upside down. Every instinct screams at her to run, to reject this, to go back to being nobody special, because being special has only ever brought her pain. But another part of her, the part that's been dreaming of this grove since she was 14, the part that recognized Zane's scent before she knew his name, that part pushes her forward. She takes his hand.
The moment their fingers touch, the silver light explodes. It pours from the Moonwell like water, like fire, like living starlight, and wraps around Alice in a cocoon of pure power. She gasps as it enters her, flooding through her veins, showing her things she wasn't meant to see. She sees the first wolves, blessed by the moon goddess, learning to shift and hunt and build communities. She sees centuries of packs spreading across territories, maintaining balance between human and wolf, civilization and wild. Then she sees the corruption. Sees pack leaders forgetting that strength should serve, that power should protect. Sees females treated as breeding stock, males turned into weapons, young wolves having their spirits broken before they can learn what they're capable of. Sees her own pack, her own suffering, repeated across hundreds of territories in thousands of different ways. And she sees the prophecy. Carved in moonlight, written in the language of the first wolves, clear and unavoidable. When balance breaks and packs forget their sacred purpose, the healing moon will rise. Born of suffering, forged in fire, she will mend what has been shattered or burn it away entirely. The Alpha King will stand beside her, claimed by her mercy, bound by her choice. Together they will restore the old ways or end them forever. The vision releases her, and Alice collapses. Zane catches her, of course he does, he's always there to catch her, and lowers them both to the ground beside the altar. The silver light has retreated back to the Moonwell, but Alice can still feel it inside her chest, pulsing in time with her heartbeat. "What did you see?" Zane asks, his voice rough. "Everything." Alice's hands are shaking. "The prophecy. The healing moon. That's me. That's what I am." "Say the words," Zane demands. "Say them so I know I didn't imagine them." She meets his eyes and speaks the prophecy aloud, watching his expression shift from hope to horror to grim acceptance. Mend what has been shattered or burn it away entirely, he repeats when she finishes. That's not exactly a comforting prophecy. No. It's a choice. Alice pushes herself upright, her mind racing. The healing moon isn't just about literal healing. It's about fixing the fundamental brokenness in how packs function. And if I can't fix it, you destroy it and start over, Zane finishes. New packs, new ways, built from the ashes of the old. Alice, do you understand what this means? You're not just powerful. You're potentially world-ending powerful. She laughs, and it comes out slightly hysterical. I spent my whole life being told I was worthless except for my gift. Now you're telling me I'm prophesied to either save or destroy Wolf Society. I'm not equipped for this, Zane. I'm just... You're exactly what you need to be, he interrupts firmly. You saved my life when you had no reason to. You endured 4 years of Marcus's psychological torture without breaking. You were willing to fake fainting in front of your entire pack rather than submit to a forced bond. That's not weakness, Alice. That's strength of a kind that doesn't get taught. It gets earned through surviving things that should have destroyed you. His words echo in the sacred grove, and Alice feels them settle into her bones. The prophecy said you'd stand beside me. Claimed by my mercy, bound by my choice. What does that mean? Zane's smile is sharp and self-aware. It means I'm not the independent alpha king I thought I was. It means 6 months ago, when you saved me, you didn't just heal my body. You forged a connection that goes deeper than gratitude or debt. The prophecy isn't giving us a choice about being connected, Alice. It's telling us we already are. And what happens next depends entirely on what we choose to do about it. Alice processes this, trying to separate prophecy from reality, destiny from desire. And if I choose to reject this? To walk away from the healing moon and let someone else carry the burden? Then the prophecy unfulfilled, and packs continue their slow corruption until something or someone else breaks them apart. It's an option. He holds her gaze. But we both know you won't choose that. Because you're a healer, Alice. And healers don't walk away from suffering they have the power to address. Not even when the cost is astronomical. He's right. She hates that he's right. But running from destiny doesn't make it go away. It just delays the inevitable while conditions worsen. Okay, she says finally. Okay. I'm the healing moon. You're the alpha king bound to my choice. Together we're supposed to fix or destroy Wolf Society. No pressure. She laughs again, more genuinely this time. Where do we even start? With the breeding ring, Zane says immediately. With stopping the immediate harm, saving the wolves we can save, and building evidence of how broken the system actually is. Then we expand. Investigate other packs, document abuses, offer alternatives. And eventually, he pauses. Eventually, we convene a grand council. All the packs, all the alphas, everyone with power and influence. And we give them a choice, reform or face the consequences. The consequences being me burning it all down, Alice clarifies. The consequences being us, Zane corrects. This isn't your burden alone anymore. The prophecy binds us together. Where you go, I follow. What you choose to burn, I'll help reduce to ashes. And what you choose to save, I'll defend with everything I have. Alice looks at this powerful male who keeps surprising her with his understanding, his support, his willingness to be vulnerable. Why? Why are you so willing to tie yourself to me, to a prophecy that might end with everything burning? Because, Zane says simply, the system that nearly let Marcus claim you is the same system that protects breeding rings and elevates cruelty. It's broken, Alice. Has been for centuries. Maybe millennia. And I've been Alpha King for 10 years, watching it get worse, unable to fix it because I'm trapped by the same hierarchies and traditions that enable the abuse. But you? His smile is fierce. You're not trapped by anything. You're the wild card no one saw coming. And if there's even a chance you can heal what's broken, I'm going to make sure you have every resource, every protection, every advantage I can provide. And if I fail? Then we burn it down together and build something better from the ashes. He stands, offering his hand again. Come on. The sun's rising, and we should get back before the pack elders panic about their Alpha King spending dawn alone with the prophesied healing moon. Alice takes his hand, letting him pull her to her feet. As they walk back through the ancient grove, as the silver light of the moonwell pulses behind them like a beacon, she realizes something fundamental has shifted. She's not just Alice Winters anymore, former Omega's daughter, Marcus's escaped intended, refugee in royal territory. She's the healing moon. And ready or not, the prophecy has begun. The Grand Council summons arrives 3 days after Alice's revelation at the Moonwell. Not a request, a demand. The 5 territory alphas insist on meeting the female their king has claimed, the one causing disturbances in ancient sacred sites, the one rumored to be connected to prophecy. Zane reads the summons with controlled fury. They're scared. The silver light has been visible from miles away since you touched the Moonwell. Other sacred sites across the territories are responding, lighting up after centuries of dormancy. The old magic is waking, and the alphas who built their power on ignoring that magic are terrified. Alice watches him pace his office, a predator contained in too small a space. What happens if we refuse to attend? They'll assume I'm hiding something. That you're dangerous and I'm using you for my own purposes. It'll give them justification to move against the royal pack. He stops, pinning her with those golden eyes. We go. We show them you're not a threat. And we very carefully don't mention the prophecy about burning it all down if necessary. The Grand Council meets in neutral territory, a massive lodge built specifically for interpack politics. Alice arrives beside Zane, dressed in formal clothing that Nora insisted was appropriate for facing alphas. She feels like an imposter, a former Omega playing dress-up, until Zane takes her hand. Remember, he murmurs as they enter. You saved my life. You touched the Moonwell and survived. You are stronger than any of them believe, and more important than they can comprehend. Don't let them diminish you. The council chamber is arranged in a circle, 5 alphas seated at equal points, their chosen advisors behind them. Zane leads Alice to the center, the position of the accused, and she realizes this isn't a welcome meeting. It's a trial. Alpha Kieran of Frost Ridge is present, looking uncomfortable when he sees her. Marcus stands behind him, his face twisted with barely controlled rage. Other alphas Alice doesn't recognize watch her with expressions ranging from curiosity to hostility. Alpha King Zane, the eldest alpha speaks, Thorn of the Mountain Pack. You've convened this council to explain your recent actions. Specifically, your claiming of a female already intended to another, your removal of said female from her home pack without proper negotiation, and the disturbances in sacred sites that began immediately following her arrival in royal territory. Zane's voice is controlled, diplomatic. Alice Winters was being forced into a claiming she neither wanted nor consented to. I invoked right of prior claim based on life debt. She saved me 6 months ago when I was dying from silver poisoning. All traditional laws support my actions. Life debt. Marcus's voice cuts through like a blade. How convenient that the Alpha King suddenly remembers being saved by a female who was intended to another male. How convenient that this supposed debt appears exactly when you need justification for stealing. Careful, Zane says softly, and the temperature in the room drops. Complete that sentence and see what happens. Thorn raises a hand, calling for calm. The claiming itself, while unusual, appears to follow traditional law. However, the disturbances are another matter entirely. Sacred sites responding to one wolf's presence suggests power that should be monitored, controlled. Controlled, Alice interrupts, her voice steady despite her racing heart. You mean suppressed. Contained. Made safe for you. Every eye in the room turns to her. She wasn't supposed to speak, wasn't invited to participate in this discussion about her own fate. But she spent too many years being silent while others decided her future. The sacred sites are responding because they recognize what I am, she continues. A healer descended from the first bloodlines, carrying gifts that predate pack politics and alpha dominance. The old magic knows its own, and it's waking because it's been dormant too long while you've all forgotten what it meant to be wolves blessed by the moon goddess. Blasphemy, someone mutters. Truth, Alice counters. The moon goddess blessed our kind with gifts meant to serve and protect, to maintain balance between human and wolf. But you've twisted those gifts into weapons and tools of control. You've turned sacred bonds into transactions. You've forgotten that power is meant to serve, not dominate. Alpha Kieran leans forward. You speak of the old ways as if you have authority to judge how we lead our packs. You're barely more than a child, and you were Omega-born. What gives you the right? The Moonwell, Zane interrupts. Alice touched the Moonwell and it recognized her. The oldest, most sacred site in all territories, silent for 5,000 years, responded to her presence. That gives her more right than any bloodline or political position ever could. The room erupts into argument. Some alphas demanding to know what Zane means, others accusing him of spreading rumors to justify his claim, still others insisting Alice be examined by their own mystics to determine what she actually is. Through it all, Marcus stares at Alice with an expression that makes her skin crawl. She's mine, he says, cutting through the chaos. I courted her for 4 years. I was promised her by Alpha Kieran. And the Alpha King stole her using claims of life debt that cannot be verified. I demand she be returned to Frost Ridge for proper claiming. I demand you shut your mouth, Zane snarls, before I rip out your throat for daring to claim ownership of a wolf who was never yours. Enough. Thorn slams his hand on the table. This is getting us nowhere. Alice Winters, you stand accused of causing disturbances in sacred sites. What do you say to this charge? Alice feels the weight of all their attention, all their judgment, all their fear of what she represents. And something inside her snaps. She spent her entire life making herself small, acceptable, safe for others. No more. She lets the silver light rise. Not full power, not the overwhelming flood she felt at the Moonwell, but enough. Enough to show them she's not helpless. Not controllable. Not theirs to judge or claim or suppress. The light pours from her skin, bathing the council chamber in silver radiance. It doesn't harm, doesn't burn, but it reveals. She sees their secrets written in the light's reflection: corruption, cruelty, the small evils each alpha has committed or ignored in service of maintaining power. I am Alice Winters, she says, her voice resonating with power that's not entirely her own. Healer, survivor, and bearer of the old magic. I didn't ask for these gifts, didn't choose this path. But I'm here now, and the sacred sites are waking because they recognize what you've all forgotten. That we are meant to be more than political animals fighting over territory and dominance. We are meant to be protectors, guardians, servants of the balance between human and wolf. She lets the light fade, and the sudden absence feels like cold water. So here's what's going to happen. I'm staying in royal territory under Alpha King Zane's protection. The sacred sites will continue to wake as I grow into my power. And any alpha who has a problem with that can take it up with the Moonwell itself. Because I'm done being judged by wolves who've forgotten what it means to serve something greater than their own ambition. Silence. Absolute, ringing silence. Then Thorn speaks, his voice careful. The sacred sites are responding to her. That much is clear. And the old laws say that one recognized by the Moonwell cannot be claimed against her will, cannot be controlled or coerced by any pack authority. He looks around at the other alphas. We have a choice. We can accept that the old magic has chosen to manifest in this female and work with her. Or we can try to suppress her and face the consequences when the sacred sites themselves rebel against that suppression. I vote we accept, one alpha says immediately. As do I, another agrees. But not everyone is convinced. Marcus steps forward, his face twisted with fury. She's using tricks, illusions, trying to make us believe she's more than she is. I demand trial by combat. If she's truly chosen by the old magic, let her defend that claim physically. She's a healer, not a warrior, Zane growls. You're demanding trial by combat because you know she'd lose. That's not honor, Marcus. That's cowardice. Then let her champion fight for her, Marcus counters. You, Alpha King. Since you claim her so thoroughly, prove she's worth the protection you're offering. Fight me. And when I win, she returns to Frost Ridge where she belongs. The trap closes with perfect precision. Refuse and Zane looks weak, unwilling to back his claims about Alice's importance. Accept and he risks death or defeat, leaving Alice vulnerable. Either way, Marcus wins. Alice watches Zane calculate, sees him weighing options, and makes her choice. I accept the challenge, she says clearly. Not through a champion. Personally. Marcus wants to fight me? Fine. Let him try. Alice, no, Zane starts, but she cuts him off. You said I was stronger than I believed. Let me prove it. To them, to you, to myself. She meets Marcus's eyes and sees the satisfaction there. He thinks she's making a fatal mistake. Unless the mighty head enforcer is afraid to fight a healer? Marcus's smile is all teeth and cruelty. I'll try not to break you too badly. You're much more valuable intact. The other alphas agree to the combat trial, setting it for the following evening to give both parties time to prepare. As the council disperses, Zane pulls Alice aside, his face dark with worry. That was incredibly stupid and incredibly brave. He's going to hurt you, Alice. He's been waiting 4 years for an excuse to physically dominate you. This is everything he's ever wanted. I know. Alice's voice is steadier than she feels. But I also know I can't keep hiding behind you, behind my gifts, behind prophecy. If I'm supposed to be the healing moon, if I'm supposed to challenge corruption and change how packs function, I need to prove I'm not just powerful, I'm strong. And strength means standing my ground even when I'm terrified. Zane cups her face in his hands, his touch gentle despite the violence thrumming through his frame. Then we train. All night if necessary. I can't fight for you, but I can teach you how to survive long enough for your gifts to make a difference. Deal? Deal, Alice agrees, and tries not to think about how many ways tomorrow could go catastrophically wrong. They train in the Royal Pack's private grounds, away from prying eyes. Zane teaches Alice not to fight like a warrior, she'll never match Marcus's strength or experience, but to fight like a survivor. Use his momentum against him. Target weak points. Make every second count. But as the night wears on and exhaustion sets in, the training shifts into something else. They sit by a fire Zane built, Alice's muscles screaming, her spirit wavering under the weight of tomorrow's trial. Tell me about your previous mates, she says suddenly. I heard rumors that the Alpha King has never bonded, never claimed anyone permanently. But you must have had relationships. Zane is quiet for a long moment, staring into the flames. I've had plenty of relationships. Political alliances, temporary bonds, females who wanted the power that comes with being associated with the king. But a true mate? Someone who sees me instead of my position? He shakes his head. Never found that. Never really looked, honestly. Being Alpha King doesn't leave much room for vulnerability. Is that what you think mating is? Vulnerability? Isn't it? He turns to face her, firelight dancing across his features. Opening yourself completely to another person, trusting them with parts of yourself you can barely acknowledge exist? That's the most dangerous thing a wolf can do. Alice understands that fear intimately. What happened to make you so afraid of connection? Zane's expression shudders for a moment, then he sighs. My father was Alpha King before me. He took a mate, my mother, and loved her with everything he had. She was his world, his anchor, his reason for being. And when she died, killed by rogues who wanted to destabilize the royal pack, my father lost his mind. Literally. He couldn't function, couldn't lead, couldn't do anything except mourn. The pack suffered for months while he fell apart. Eventually, the council had no choice but to remove him. Force him into early retirement and elevate me to Alpha King at 20 years old. You were just a child, Alice breathes. I was old enough to learn that love is weakness. That attachment makes you vulnerable. That the moment you care about something more than power, someone will use it to destroy you. He meets her eyes, and there's raw pain there he's not quite hiding. So I decided never to care. To keep everyone at arm's length. To be the perfect Alpha King who needs nothing and no one. And it worked. For 10 years, it worked. Until 6 months ago, Alice says softly. Until a healer saved your life and you couldn't stop thinking about her. Zane's laugh is rough. Until 6 months ago. When I woke up in a stranger's cottage, alive because someone decided my life was worth saving even though they had no idea who I was. And I've been trying to repay that debt ever since, but it's not really about debt anymore, is it? It's about the fact that when I'm near you, I remember what it feels like to want something more than power. To care about someone more than position. The confession hangs between them, weighted with implications neither of them is quite ready to examine. Alice should say something, should acknowledge what he's revealed, but her own fears are too close to the surface. I'm terrified of tomorrow, she admits instead. Not just of Marcus hurting me, though that's definitely part of it. I'm terrified of failing. Of proving that I'm not actually strong enough to be what the prophecy demands. Of disappointing you, disappointing the wolves who are starting to believe in me, disappointing myself. Zane shifts closer, his presence warm and solid in the firelight. Can I tell you a secret? She nods. I'm terrified too. Not of Marcus, I could kill him in seconds if I were allowed to intervene. I'm terrified of watching you get hurt and not being able to stop it. Of seeing someone he stops himself. Someone important to me suffer while I stand by helpless. That's new for me. Caring enough about someone that their pain becomes mine. Is that what this is? Alice asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Care? Or something more? I don't know. His honesty is brutal and beautiful. I've never let anyone close enough to find out. But Alice, when you fainted into my arms at that ceremony, when I caught you and smelled your scent and felt your heartbeat against my chest, something in me recognized you. Not as life, dead, or prophecy or any of the rational explanations I've been telling myself. My wolf knew you. Claimed you. Decided you were worth protecting regardless of consequences. He reaches out, his hand hovering near her face, waiting for permission. Alice leans into the touch, and his palm cups her cheek with devastating gentleness. I see you, he says quietly. Not the healer or the healing moon or the female Marcus tried to claim. I see Alice. The wolf who saves strangers because it's the right thing to do. Who survives cruelty without becoming cruel. Who faints dramatically to avoid unwanted bonds and then challenges males twice her size to combat trials because she refuses to hide behind champions. I see all of you. And I want, he stops, swallows hard. I want the right to keep seeing you. To stand beside you. To be someone you choose, not because of prophecy or debt, but because you want me there. Alice's heart is racing, her wolf pushing at her control, demanding she close the distance between them. And if I choose you? If this thing between us becomes real instead of just strategic alliance? What happens when you realize I'm not worth the vulnerability, when caring about me becomes the weakness someone uses to destroy you? Then I'll deal with it, Zane says simply. Because the alternative, keeping you at arm's length, never knowing what we could be together. That's worse than any danger. I've spent 10 years being safe, Alice. Being untouchable and alone and slowly dying inside. I don't want to spend the next 10 the same way. He leans closer, giving her time to pull away, time to reject this. But Alice has spent too many years running from her desires, suppressing her needs, making herself small for others' comfort. She closes the distance and kisses him. It's not gentle. It's desperate and hungry and edged with all the fear and hope churning inside her. Zane responds immediately, his hand sliding into her hair, his other arm wrapping around her waist to pull her closer. He kisses like he fights, focused, intense, with complete commitment. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, Alice sees her own surprise reflected in his eyes. That was, he starts. A terrible idea, Alice finishes. I have a combat trial tomorrow. We barely know each other. The prophecy is already complicated enough without adding feelings to it. So we shouldn't do it again. Definitely not. They stare at each other for a heartbeat. Then they're kissing again, and rational thought disappears under the weight of want and need and the bone-deep certainty that this, whatever this is, matters more than prophecy or politics or any of the logical reasons they should keep their distance. When they finally pull apart for real, Zane rests his forehead against hers. Alice. After tomorrow, after you beat Marcus and prove to everyone you're not someone to be controlled, we need to talk. Really talk. About this, about us, about what we want this to be. If I beat Marcus, she corrects. When, he insists. You're going to win tomorrow. And then we're going to figure out how to navigate a prophecy, 2 packs, and whatever this thing is between us. Together. If you want that. I want that, Alice admits. Even though it terrifies me. Even though I have no idea how to be with someone who actually sees me instead of what I can do for them. I want to try. Zane's smile is fierce and vulnerable all at once. Then that's what we'll do. Try. Fail sometimes. Figure it out as we go. Like everything else in this impossible situation. They sit by the fire until dawn, not talking much, just existing in each other's presence. And Alice realizes that this quiet understanding, this acceptance of fear and hope tangled together, might be the most dangerous thing she's ever done. More dangerous than challenging Marcus. More terrifying than prophecy. Because Zane was right. Caring about someone means giving them the power to destroy you. But maybe, just maybe, it also means giving them the power to save you. The combat trial takes place in a neutral arena, packed with wolves from all 5 territories who've come to witness the spectacle. Alice stands in the center of the fighting circle, feeling the weight of hundreds of stares, and tries to remember Zane's training. Survive the first attack. Use his momentum. Target weak points. Don't try to outstrength him, outlast him. Marcus enters from the opposite side, already in fighting stance, his smile sharp with anticipation. Last chance to submit, Alice. Acknowledge my claim, accept your place, and this doesn't have to end with you broken. It's going to end with one of us broken, Alice agrees. Just not me. The signal sounds, and Marcus lunges. Zane's training saves her life in the first 30 seconds. She dodges, rolls, uses the techniques he drilled into her all night. But Marcus is faster than expected, stronger, more willing to hurt her than she anticipated. His fist catches her ribs, and she feels something crack. His foot sweeps her legs, and she goes down hard. The crowd roars. Some cheering, some gasping, all of them convinced they're watching a massacre. Alice rolls to avoid his follow-up strike and comes up with blood in her mouth. Her healing gift surges, automatically trying to repair the damage, but she pushes it down. Not yet. She needs to save her power for the right moment. You're weak, Marcus taunts, circling her like prey. You always were. Hiding behind your gift, behind your Omega parents, behind the pack's need for a healer. But strip all that away, and what are you? Nothing. Just a frightened little wolf who should have accepted her place years ago. His words are designed to break her spirit, to make her submit psychologically even if she won't physically. And 6 months ago, they might have worked. 6 months ago, Alice believed she was nothing without her gift, that her only value came from what she could do for others. But that was before the Moonwell recognized her. Before prophecy named her the healing Moon. Before Zane looked at her and said, "I see you. All of you." Alice stops retreating. Plants her feet. And when Marcus lunges again, she doesn't dodge. She meets him head-on, channeling every ounce of training Zane gave her, using Marcus's own momentum to throw him off balance. He's stronger, but she's desperate. He's experienced, but she's fighting for her freedom. They grapple, and Alice feels ribs grinding, feels pain blooming everywhere he touches. But she also feels something else. The silver light responding to her need, rising without her conscious call, flooding through her system. And that's when she realizes her gift isn't just healing. It's energy manipulation. The same power that draws pain from others can push pain into them. The same gift that mends wounds can sense exactly where to strike to maximize damage. She's never used her power to harm before. Has been trained her entire life to believe healing and hurting are opposites, that her gift is only for mending. But the Moonwell showed her truth. Power is neutral. It's the wielder who chooses what it becomes. Alice places her palm against Marcus's chest, right over his heart, and lets the silver light pour through. Not gently. Not with healing intent. She shows him every moment of pain he's caused her. Every time he touched her without permission. Every threat, every manipulation, every second of the 4-year nightmare he put her through. She makes him feel it all. Marcus screams. Actually screams. He tears away from her, stumbling backward, his eyes wide with horror. How did you? I'm not just a healer, Alice says, her voice ringing across the arena. I'm a wolf with gifts you can't comprehend, facing a male who tried to claim what was never his. You want to know what I am? I'm the moment every female you've ever terrorized gets her revenge. I'm the reckoning you've been avoiding for years. I'm the end of males like you treating females like property. The silver light blazes around her, and Alice feels the full weight of the Moonwell's recognition. This is what she's meant to be. Not a passive healer, endlessly giving without taking. But a force of balance, protecting the vulnerable, punishing the cruel, restoring what's been broken. Marcus tries to attack again, desperate now, but his movements are uncoordinated. Alice's empathic assault has disrupted his nervous system, shown him pain on a level he's never experienced. She doesn't even have to dodge. Just steps aside and watches him crash to the ground. Submit, she commands, her voice carrying alpha weight she shouldn't possess but somehow does. Or I show you exactly what it felt like to be one of your previous mates. The terror, the pain, the slow death. Choose now. Marcus's face cycles through rage, humiliation, calculation. Then, finally, he lowers his gaze in submission. I yield. The arena erupts. Some wolves cheering, others silent with shock, all of them staring at Alice like she's transformed into something beyond their understanding. Because she has. Alice looks up into the stands, finding Zane. He's watching her with an expression she can't quite read, pride, fear, hunger, all mixed together. She beat Marcus. She won her freedom. She proved she's not helpless. So why does the victory feel hollow? That's when Alpha Kieran of Frost Ridge stands, his voice carrying across the arena. The combat trial is satisfied. Alice Winters is free of any prior claim. However, his pause is calculated. The use of her gift to cause pain, to attack rather than heal, raises serious concerns. The council demands she remain under close supervision until we can determine if she poses a threat to pack stability. No. Alice's chest tightens as she realizes the trap they've sprung. She won the combat trial, yes. But in winning, in showing the full scope of her power, she gave them exactly the excuse they needed to call her dangerous. She followed the rules of combat, Zane argues, descending from the stands with alpha fury radiating from every line of his body. There were no restrictions on what powers could be used. Alice defended herself within the bounds of traditional law. Traditional law never anticipated a healer who could weaponize her gift, Thorn interrupts. The council must convene to discuss appropriate oversight. Until then, Alice Winters should be contained for everyone's safety. Contained. The word tastes like ash in Alice's mouth. You mean imprisoned? We mean protected, Alpha Kieran corrects, but his eyes say something different. Say that she's too dangerous, too powerful, too much of a threat to their comfortable hierarchies. Alice feels betrayal sharp as a blade. She did everything they asked. Fought their trial, proved her strength, operated within their rules. And still they're finding ways to control her, to diminish her, to force her back into a box she's outgrown. The silver light surges, responding to her fury. For a moment, Alice considers showing them exactly what the healing moon can do when pushed too far. Considers making them regret every time they underestimated her, every moment they treated her as less than she is. Then Zane's hand finds hers. Warm. Solid. Anchoring. Don't, he murmurs, too quiet for anyone else to hear. Don't give them the excuse they're looking for. Don't let anger make you into the threat they claim you are. Alice wants to argue that she has every right to her anger, that their fear doesn't justify more suppression. But she sees the desperation in Zane's eyes and realizes this isn't about what's right. It's about what's survivable. Fine, she says, raising her voice so the council can hear. I'll submit to supervision. But only in royal territory, under Alpha King Zane's authority. I don't trust any other pack to be fair or merciful. The Alphas confer, their voices too low to make out. Finally, Thorn nods. Acceptable. Alice Winters remains under royal pack supervision until the council can convene and determine appropriate long-term arrangements. It's not freedom. But it's not immediate imprisonment either. Alice will take what she can get. As they leave the arena, as wolves whisper and stare, Alice feels the weight of how thoroughly the world wants her contained. She won the combat trial. She proved her strength. And still they're finding ways to cage her. The prophecy promised she would either mend what was shattered or burn it away entirely. For the first time, Alice understands the appeal of choosing fire. Maybe some things are too broken to mend. Maybe some systems deserve to be reduced to ashes so something better can grow from the ruins. The question is, does she have the courage to be the spark? 2 weeks of supervision feel like slow suffocation. Alice is confined to royal territory, her movements monitored, her interactions restricted. The council sends representatives to observe her, to document her power, to find evidence they can use to justify further containment. But what they don't know is that while they're watching her, she's learning about them. About the corruption hiding behind respectful facades. About females disappearing from packs under suspicious circumstances. About the breeding ring Zane was investigating when he nearly died. And the trail leads exactly where Alice suspected, back to Frost Ridge. Back to Marcus and Alpha Kieran. Back to a network of males who've been trafficking females for years, selling their offspring, destroying lives for profit. We need proof, Zane insists as they review documents in his private office. Real evidence, not just testimony from victims who are too terrified to speak publicly. Something that will force the council to acknowledge what's happening. I can get it, Alice says. Let me go back to Frost Ridge undercover. Use my healing gift as an excuse, say you're loaning me to their pack hospital for a week. I can investigate, gather evidence, find the females who've been taken. Absolutely not. You go back there, Marcus will find a way to hurt you, evidence or no evidence. Then come with me. Alice meets his eyes. Not as Alpha King making an official visit. Come as my mate. The word hangs between them, weighted with everything they haven't discussed since that night by the fire. They've been circling around their connection for weeks, both too afraid to name what's growing between them. Your mate, Zane repeats carefully. Alice, that's not a claim to make lightly. A mate bond is permanent, sacred. I know what it is. She moves closer, her heart racing. And I know we've barely had time to explore this thing between us. But I also know that when I'm near you, I feel safe. Seen. Like I can be everything I'm meant to be without apologizing for it. If that's not the foundation of a mate bond, I don't know what is. Zane's hands find her waist, pulling her close. You're sure? Because once we complete a mate bond, once we make that claim permanent, there's no going back. You'll be bound to me forever. The healing moon tied to the Alpha King, our fates intertwined for the rest of our lives. Maybe that's what the prophecy meant, Alice says softly. Not that you'd be claimed by my mercy or bound by my choice in some abstract way. But that we'd choose each other. Fully. Permanently. Two wolves who understand power and vulnerability and the cost of standing against corruption. He kisses her then, deep and claiming, and Alice feels the bond beginning to form. Not forced, not coerced, but chosen. Built on respect and understanding and the knowledge that they're stronger together than apart. When they break apart, Zane's eyes are blazing gold. Tomorrow night. The full moon. We'll complete the mate bond properly, with witnesses and blessing. And then, his expression hardens. Then we go to Frost Ridge. Together. And we burn down everything Marcus and Kieran have built on the suffering of innocence. The next evening, under a full moon that bathes everything in silver light, Alice and Zane stand before the moonwell. The royal pack has gathered to witness, along with council representatives who couldn't refuse an invitation to an Alpha King's mating ceremony. The ritual is ancient, simple. They cut their palms, press the wounds together, and speak the words that will bind them for eternity. I choose you, Zane says, his voice carrying through the grove. Not because prophecy demands it, not because politics require it, but because you are the only wolf I've ever met who sees past my position to the male beneath. I offer you my protection, my devotion, and my heart. For as long as we both live. Alice feels tears on her cheeks as she speaks her own vows. I choose you. Not because you saved me from Marcus, not because you're the Alpha King, but because you gave me freedom when everyone else wanted to cage me. You saw strength where others saw weakness. You offered choice where others demanded submission. I am yours by choice, by love, by the recognition that our souls were always meant to find each other. The moonwell pulses, and silver light pours from its center, wrapping around their joined hands. The bond snaps into place with a force that makes Alice gasp. She feels Zane in her mind, his emotions flowing into hers, their wolves recognizing and claiming each other on a level beyond words. They are mated. Bound. Two becoming one while remaining themselves. The royal pack howls their approval, the sound echoing through the sacred grove. And Alice feels, for the first time in her life, like she belongs somewhere. Not because she's useful or powerful, but because she's chosen and cherished. But the celebration is short-lived. Because 3 days later, while they're preparing for their undercover mission to Frost Ridge, a messenger arrives with devastating news. The breeding ring has moved. Shut down their Frost Ridge operation and relocated somewhere unknown, taking their captive females with them. Someone tipped them off, warned them that investigation was coming. And the most likely suspect? One of the council representatives who attended the mating ceremony. Who now knows Alice is the Alpha King's mate, knows she's investigating the breeding ring, knows exactly how to hurt Zane through her. They're going to use this, Alice realizes, her blood running cold. They'll threaten the captive females. Tell us to back off the investigation or they'll kill them. Make me choose between justice and immediate harm. Then we don't give them the chance to threaten, Zane says grimly. We find them first. Hunt them down. Save who we can save and destroy everyone involved. But finding them proves harder than expected. The breeding ring has gone underground, operating from multiple locations, moving females constantly to avoid detection. Weeks pass with no solid leads, and Alice feels desperation building. That's when she realizes the answer has been there all along. The moonwell. The sacred sites responding to her presence. If she can use that connection, if she can expand her awareness through the old magic, maybe she can find the females they've taken. It's risky. Possibly impossible. Definitely dangerous. But Alice is done playing by rules designed to keep her manageable. She returns to the Moonwell at midnight, alone despite Zane's protests. She needs to do this herself, needs to prove she's not just powerful because of her mate bond or her prophecy. She's powerful because she chooses to be. Alice places both hands on the altar and opens herself completely to the old magic. The silver light floods through her, but this time she doesn't just receive visions. She sends her consciousness outward, using the network of sacred sites like a web, searching for the taint of corruption, the signature of suffering that marks where the breeding ring operates. And she finds them. Hidden in abandoned mines on the border between territories, warded with dark magic that should prevent detection. 23 females, some pregnant, all terrified, all imprisoned by males who view them as merchandise. Alice pulls back from the vision and runs to find Zane. Within an hour, they've assembled a strike team. Royal pack enforcers, loyal wolves from other packs, even Maya who insisted on coming because some of the captive females are from Frost Ridge. They hit the breeding ring at dawn. Zane leads the assault on the main compound while Alice goes straight for the captive females, using her gift to break the dark magic wards that bind them. The fight is brutal. Marcus is there, of course he is, this was his operation all along. So is Alpha Kieran, the ringleader, the male who's been selling wolves like property for years. They fight with the desperation of criminals who know capture means execution. Alice doesn't fight them directly. She has another priority. She finds the captive females, breaks their chains, and uses her silver light to soothe their terror and pain. 23 wolves, some barely more than girls, all carrying scars that will take years to heal. You're safe now, she tells them, her voice carrying the weight of absolute conviction. I'm Alice. I'm going to get you out of here. All of you. I promise. But promises are hard to keep when Marcus appears, blocking their escape route, his face twisted with rage and desperation. You ruined everything, he snarls. For years I waited. For years planning how to use your gift to breed the perfect soldiers. And you had to escape. Had to catch the Alpha King's attention. Had to destroy my operation. Your operation? Alice laughs, cold and sharp. You mean your trafficking ring. Your systematic abuse of females who couldn't fight back. You're not a victim here, Marcus. You're a monster. And monsters don't get to win. He lunges, and Alice meets him with the full force of her silver flame. Not holding back this time, not showing mercy. She pours every ounce of her power into him, showing him not just pain but consequences. The cost of his cruelty reflected back at him amplified by the old magic. Marcus collapses, screaming, his mind fracturing under the assault. It's brutal. Possibly excessive. Definitely permanent damage. Alice doesn't care. She helps the females escape, getting them to safety while Zane's forces overwhelm the remaining traffickers. By the time the sun rises, it's over. The breeding ring is destroyed. The captive females are free. And Marcus and Alpha Kieran are in chains, awaiting judgment from a council that can no longer ignore the evidence. But the victory tastes bitter. Because Alice used her power to break Marcus's mind, crossed a line from defense to punishment, and she saw the fear in the rescued females' eyes when they watched her unleash the silver flame in rage. She saved them. But they're afraid of her. Of what she's capable of. Of the power that burns in her veins. Alice collapses in Zane's arms once they're clear of the compound, and for the first time since she touched the Moonwell, she questions whether she's actually capable of healing what's broken. Or if she's just another source of destruction in a world that already has too much. I hurt him, she whispers. Permanently. Broke something in his mind that can't be fixed. That's not healing, Zane. That's just revenge. Zane holds her tighter. That's justice. He was trafficking females, Alice. Destroying lives for profit. You stopped him the only way possible. That's not something to feel guilty about. But the females looked at me with fear. Like I'm something to be afraid of instead of someone who saved them. Give them time, Zane says firmly. They're traumatized. They've been hurt by powerful wolves who used their gifts for cruelty. Of course they're scared. But fear fades. And once they have time to process, to heal, to understand that you used your power to free them instead of enslave them, they'll see the truth. You're not a monster, Alice. You're exactly what the prophecy promised. The healing moon who mends what's broken and burns away what can't be saved. Alice wants to believe him. But as she looks at her hands, still glowing faintly with silver light, she wonders if there's really a difference between healing and destroying. Or if they're just two sides of the same devastating power. The council convenes one final time, 3 weeks after the breeding ring's destruction. Marcus and Alpha Kieran have been executed for their crimes. The rescued females are recovering under Alice's care in a sanctuary built specifically for trafficking survivors. And the 5 territories are in upheaval as wolves realize how deep the corruption ran, how many alphas were complicit or willfully blind. Alice stands before the council, no longer a wolf on trial but the healing moon recognized by every sacred site in the territories. Zane stands beside her, not as her protector but as her equal, her mate, her partner in the work of rebuilding. The old ways are broken, Alice says, her voice carrying through the council chamber. For centuries, we've organized packs around dominance and submission, around alphas who rule and omegas who serve. We've treated females as property, gifted wolves as assets, and anyone who doesn't fit the hierarchy as disposable. That system created the breeding ring. Protected males like Marcus. And nearly destroyed me and 23 other females who deserved better. She lets the silver light rise, not threatening, just present. A reminder of what she is, what she's capable of. The prophecy said I would either mend what's shattered or burn it away entirely. For a long time, I thought that meant I had to choose one or the other. But I was wrong. Some things need to be burned away so healing can begin. Some structures need to be destroyed so something better can be built from the ashes. The alphas watch her with expressions ranging from fear to respect to resentment. But they're listening. For the first time in centuries, they're actually listening to someone outside their hierarchy. I'm proposing something radical, Alice continues. Not a return to the old ways, but an evolution of them. Packs organized around community instead of dominance. Leadership earned through service instead of inherited through bloodline. Females with equal voice and power. Gifted wolves celebrated instead of feared. And sacred sites reopened, the old magic welcomed back to guide us instead of being suppressed because it challenges alpha authority. That's chaos, one alpha argues. That's the destruction of everything we've built. What you've built is rotten, Alice says flatly. The breeding ring proved that. The fact that 23 females could disappear without investigation proved that. The reality that I almost got forced into a claiming by a male who murdered his previous mates proved that. Your system doesn't work. Not for the vulnerable, not for the gifted, not for anyone who doesn't benefit from the hierarchy. So yes, I'm proposing we destroy it. Burn it down. And build something better in its place. Silence. Heavy, weighted silence. Then Thorn speaks, his voice careful. And if we refuse? If we choose to maintain the current structure despite its flaws? Alice meets his eyes, and in them he sees the full weight of the healing moon. Then the sacred sites will continue to wake. The old magic will continue to rise. And eventually, it will force the change you're refusing to make. The only question is whether you're part of that change or destroyed by it. It's a threat wrapped in prophecy, power wrapped in truth. The alphas can accept evolution or face revolution. Their choice. After hours of debate, they vote. Not unanimously, change never is. But by a narrow margin, the council agrees to implement Alice's reforms. Slowly, carefully, with oversight and adjustment. But moving forward instead of clinging to the past. Alice stands on the balcony of the royal pack house that night, looking out at territories beginning to transform. It's not perfect. It's messy and complicated and will probably take decades to fully realize. But it's progress. Zane joins her, wrapping his arms around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. You did it. Changed the world. Fulfilled the prophecy. We did it, Alice corrects. This isn't my victory alone. It's ours. Yours, mine, the 23 females we saved, every wolf who decided that freedom matters more than tradition. Our victory, Zane agrees. Our future. Our choice. Alice leans back against him, feeling the mate bond humming between them, and thinks about the girl she was 6 months ago. Terrified. Trapped. Convinced she was worthless except for her gift. That girl fainted to avoid a forced claiming and fell into the arms of a stranger who became her mate, her partner, her proof that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes. Do you think they'll remember me? She asks quietly. 20 years from now, when the reforms are normal and no one remembers how hard we fought for them, will they remember the healing moon? Or will I just be a footnote in history? Does it matter? Zane turns her to face him. You didn't do this for recognition or legacy. You did it because it was right. Because wolves were suffering and you had the power to change that. The fact that history might forget your name doesn't diminish the lives you saved or the future you made possible. He's right. Of course he's right. But Alice still wonders about the wolves who'll come after her. The females who'll grow up in a world where forced claiming is outlawed, where gifted wolves are celebrated, where power serves instead of dominates. Will they understand the cost of that freedom? The fights that made it possible? Tell me something, Zane says, pulling her from her thoughts. If you could go back to that moment at the marking ceremony. If you could change what happened, avoid all the pain and fear and struggle that followed, would you? Alice considers this, really considers it. Going back would mean never meeting Zane, never discovering her true power, never saving those 23 females or changing the system that nearly destroyed her. No, she says finally. I wouldn't change it. Because that girl who fainted to avoid Marcus's claim? She was brave even when she didn't know it. And every choice she made after led her here. To this moment. To you. To a future where she's not just surviving but thriving. So no. I wouldn't change a thing. Zane's smile is bright and fierce and full of love. Good. Because I wouldn't either. You're exactly who you're meant to be, Alice. The healing moon who burned away corruption and built something better from the ashes. My mate. My equal. My forever. They stand together as the moon rises over royal territory, and Alice feels the silver light pulse inside her chest. Not a curse. Not even really a gift. Just power. Neutral, waiting to be directed by the choices its bearer makes. She chose to heal. She chose to fight. She chose love over fear, freedom over safety, revolution over resignation. And in the end, that's all any of them can do. Make the best choice possible with the information they have. Trust that the difficult path sometimes leads to the most beautiful destinations. Believe that one wolf, choosing courage over comfort, can change the world. So let me ask you something. If you were Alice, standing at that marking ceremony, seconds from being claimed by a male you despised, would you have had the courage to faint? To trust a stranger? To embrace a prophecy that might end with everything burning? If you were in the crowd watching a female use her gifts not to heal but to fight back against corruption, would you have seen a hero or a threat? Would you have cheered her victory or feared her power? The truth is, we all face these moments. Times when the comfortable choice is submission, when speaking up feels dangerous, when changing the system seems impossible. Alice chose courage. Chose to faint into a stranger's arms rather than accept chains. chose to burn down corruption rather than let it continue. What would you choose? If this story lit something inside you, if Alice's journey from trapped healer to the healing moon resonated with parts of yourself you're still learning to embrace, then subscribe to Cindy's Wolfheart Stories. Because here, we tell tales that burn. Stories about wolves who refuse to submit, about power that transforms instead of destroys, about females who choose freedom even when it costs everything. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling me, Team Alice all the way, or do you think she went too far in breaking Marcus's mind? Was she justified in using her power to punish, or should healing always stay gentle? Let's talk about it. Because the real question isn't whether Alice made the right choices. It's whether we have the courage to make our own. To stand up against systems that diminish us. To trust strangers who might become allies. To embrace power even when the world tells us to stay small. Welcome to the pack, friends. Where healing and fighting are two sides of the same fierce heart. Where prophecies get fulfilled by choice, not destiny. Where one fainting girl changed the world by refusing to stay down. The silver flame is burning. And the only question is, will you let it transform you too? Choose wisely. Choose bravely. And remember, sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is fall into a stranger's arms and trust them to catch you. Because you never know. That stranger might just be your mate, your destiny, your proof that the worst moments can lead to the most extraordinary futures. The healing moon rises. Will you rise with her?